Hello and welcome, I'm Raziel. Now, I have said there is actually a fourth game within the dystopian age setting, and that is Mythos. Mythos is another skirmish game. However, it's not really supported anymore, which is such a shame because they have some really cool looking minis. And yes, this is the Mythos section, pardon me. So you're going to see some Wild West Exodus, and there is a reason for that, and kind of the reason for this video, on what I would like to see happen to Mythos. Again, Mythos is a fun game, and I think it's one of the very few horror war games, horror tabletop games, in this scale. We rarely see horror actually as a war game itself. We see war games with horror, but not an actual horror war game, and Mythos is that. And I'm just showing you the models today because the lore is part of the setting. It's part of a dystopian age setting, and I'm going to talk about that further down the line. I might have to miss some out so I don't repeat myself, such as Running the Moo, Abraham Lincoln, Helena Miller. So this is the thing. I would love to see Mythos enveloped within the Wild West Exodus game. The models are absolutely fantastic. Let's actually bring some models up before I continue talking. And I will bring up some Odani Travelers. Like, these are kind of cool. These are basically circus performers, as you can see. So let's talk about some models. And to have things like this envelop into Wild West Exodus would also mean they could increase the scope of Wild West Exodus, rather than just being mainly Arizona and the Lost World. It would actually include most of the United States, or just the Union itself of that time period, or like I said, maybe even New York to California, the whole country. It would be really interesting to see, because Mythos is kind of set in the New England area, I believe, where Lovecraft set his stories and his books, and it really does show that this is a horror game with some of the creepiest models I've ever seen. Now, I don't think that's creepy. That's not that creepy. But this guy, yeah, this one does it for me. This is one of the creepiest models I've seen in a long time. That puppet, his look, everything about him just screams creepy. And I think it does a very good job doing this. And it will be such a crying shame to see these models just disappear and not be able to be used in a different game. And I think the best way to do this is for Warcradle to envelop these into Wild West Exodus. I mean, the game is Mythos is a lot of fun to play. And if you just get into Wild West Exodus and you've got like the Infernal Affairs, the Secret Service, the Pride of the Nautilus, and the Soul Hunters boxes, you can use them in Mythos as they are. They don't need anything changing. They're actually part of the game, which means there is definitely this story between Don Smith-Hager, but they are part of a dystopian age story because you have two major characters there. And yeah, that's exactly why I went up to the Wrath of the Nautilus and the Secret Service. Running the Moo is now in officially 3 different games in the Warcradle in the dystopian age setting. And I'm sure they're going to shoehorn her in somehow into Armored Clash. Why not make it all 4? I'm not actually being mean. I'm just thinking that would be pretty freaking cool that she'd be in all 4 games. Same with Abraham Lincoln. He's literally mentioned in every game. Only basically Running the Moo actually has the Nautilus in dystopian age. So yeah, you got two major players there in Mythos. So they're part of the story. So it's really adding Mythos to the dystopian age via these two players, these two guys. And with that, we can probably grow even more. I say we, like they could grow even more as a game setting, as Wild West is growing even more when you include New England now. Because we are including the Lost World, which is in the Antarctic. Why not include New England and New York, which is, part of the same landmass as Arizona? And it would really grow the game, because there's some really nice models here. And I think that's the important part. But the fact the game is good, and that the models look fantastic, I will always die on the hill of that Warcradle make the best looking models. Here's a big crab, why not? But he's just, like I said, and it's crying to shame to see these just go to waste when there is another game where they're already part of the setting anyway, and it could just grow the story of America within the dystopian age even more, and it could really show what everything else does. And some of these really fit in with other factions as well within the Wild West Exodus. See, the ones I was looking at, most of them are kind of hexy, but I want to see ones that are really very, very much like a faction within Wild West Exodus. Well, obviously, the most easiest one to do, but very low hanging fruit, is of course the Brotherhood of Belial. They're a police force. They would pretty much go with the lawmen. You know, it's very simple. It's not that difficult. You can see it happening. And then, you know, policemen and policemen, they're going to work together. And that's it. Look, that's one of the most basic ones. And there's a very hexy one. It's hexy and I know it. Oh, that joke's so bad. I deserve punishment for that. With the Wildborn. See, the Wildborn is a very much a hex-dedicated box. This would look really well with the Nambabu. Ah, jeez, I can't pronounce half these words, but I know they're Scrabble winners. But yeah, this would be a very good box to coincide with your Hex faction, or your Hex force, whatever the Hex force. But it would work with it. It would look really nice within that faction, and I think that's something that I would like to see Warcradle do as a game. As part of the Wild West Exodus, I would love to see, you know, the fact that you can use the Wildborn as part of the Hex. You can use the Brotherhood of Belial as part of your lawmen. And really be able to grow the Wild West Exodus storyline to cover most of America rather than just, you know, Arizona. I always thought the Custis Crypta, though I'm probably very wrong on this one, has a bit of an order look to it. You know, it's got that kind of Egyptian look, but even though, you know, there are bugs and stuff, so it kind of fits in with the Sultanate and the Order of the All-Shard and everything like that. Again, this would look really cool alongside an Order army. You know, an Order faction or an Order posse. And it would look nice, it would look cool to see this. And like I said, the problem is, what I'm saying is that you have some really cool models for Mythos, and they look really nice. They look really cool. But they, you know, they're not going to be that difficult to find, and you can get them quite easily. But no one's really playing the game, and I do honestly think one of the biggest problems with that is Warcradle's one box. I say it's one box mindset, because you can't really grow these factions outside of their one box. There's a couple you can, but most of them you can't, so you're just stuck with that one box, and once you've got it and done it, you're not really going to grow outside of it. And once you've got all the boxes, if you choose to go that way, again, you can't really grow any of the factions, unlike you can in Wild West Exodus with the Warrior Nations, when you have the Braves and Hunters boxes, or the Lawmen's Deputized Sharpshooters, etc. Every other, you know, you actually have these basic troop choices for Wild West Exodus to tie up, you know, like your game. But these don't. Mythos doesn't have that. Once you've got your box is done. And I think the best way they could actually get Mythos to grow, or get people to buy more models, is to envelop this into Wild West Exodus. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this very rambly and incoherent video, and I'll see you all in the next one. And if you wish to save money on your wargaming, a free delivery after £20, there is, of course, Wayland Games down below. I use this basically the site I'm showing you. They make these models for, so it's basically you're getting Mythos direct from the company itself. So yeah, there you go. We're at the Custis Crypta here, and free delivery after £20. So the next one is Forbidden Planet for comics, DVDs, mangas, etc. All that cool geeky stuff. There is my merchandise, stickers, cups, t-shirts, etc. There's my comics as well. If you want to see Little Red Riding Hood go ham on some Lovecraftian cyborg werewolves, there's a coincidence for you. And there is Skyforge. Never forget Skyforge. Good friend of mine. Let's get him up that good old Google algorithm. And finally Patreon, because business. Bye bye.